On April 17, 1955, Albert Einstein was taken to the hospital due to chest pain. At that moment, he wasn't aware of it, but the largest artery in his body, the aorta, had swollen and torn in the section descending into his abdomen, causing internal bleeding. His doctors wanted to operate immediately, but since Einstein had already undergone surgery for the same reason 8 years before, he must have realized that his time has come. He refused with these immortal words: "I'll die when I choose to. There is no taste in artificially prolonging life. I have done my share. It's time to go. I'll go gracefully." And in the early hours of the following day, he passed away at Princeton Hospital. But the truly remarkable thing happened during Einstein's autopsy. The pathologist Thomas Harvey, only 7 hours after the great genius' death, removed his brain from his body without his family's permission and injected it with 10% formalin to preserve it. His goal was to study this unique brain, which he believed to be extraordinary, in order to discover what made Einstein so brilliant. However, Einstein hated being idolized, and for that reason he had requested that his body be cremated and his ash scattered in secret. In other words, Harvey had completely violated Einstein's final wishes. When the doctor realized that his career might be at risk, he went to Einstein's son Hans, eventually obtaining retroactive permission. In this way, he escaped legal liability. But what was the source of the genius that would later shine and change physics? Could the secret lie within his brain? This is the question that has fascinated scientists for decades. Although Harvey was eventually fired over this incident, but he took dozens of photographs of Einstein's brain and later, together with his mentor Harry Zimmerman, divided it into 240 pieces, each roughly the size of 10 cubic centimeters. Harvey was unable to convince anyone to study Einstein's brain, so the first research on it was published in 1999, 44 years after his death. Let's take a look at the studies. First of all, Einstein's brain was actually smaller than average. The average male brain weighs around 1,400 grams, but Einstein's was only 1,230 grams. There was more in his brain than just size. Let's take a closer look at the front part of a typical human brain. You'll notice roughly 3 main folds or gyri. 1, 2, 3. Let's look at a photograph of Einstein's brain from the same angle. Pay close attention. Let's count the main folds again. 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like there is an extra fold. This extra fold is in the right frontal lobe, which is associated with mathematical and problem-solving abilities. Not surprising, is it? But we are not done yet. Let's move to another point. On the same photograph, do you see this massive fold? Now compare it to a normal human brain. You won't find such a fold there. This area is named the omega because of its resemblance to the Greek letter omega. It's responsible for controlling the movements of our hands and fingers. Previous studies have shown that children who begin playing the violin between the age 6 and 14 often develop such a distinctive bump in this area. And we know that Einstein, encouraged by his pianist mother, began learning the violin at the age of 7 and continued to play for the rest of his life. If you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Anyway, there were also other fascinating features in Einstein's brain that reflected his genius in mathematics and physics. For example, the left frontal lobe, responsible for mathematics, reading, writing, and symbolic thinking, was about 15% larger than normal. In short, Einstein's brain exhibited distinct and measurable differences that set it apart from the average human brain. The critical question is, was Einstein born with this brain, or did it develop through his work in mathematics and physics? What do we know is that the brain is definitely not static. It's a highly flexible and changeable structure. This is called neuroplasticity. When you learn something new, roughly 100 billion neurons in your brain form new connections. The more you explore things you don't understand, the more these connections increases. In other words, as you learn, the structure of your brain changes. And keep in mind, Einstein wasn't a genius by sitting around. Even while working at the patent office, he continued to read, research, and think about physics problems. So the next time you learn something new, imagine your brain forming new connections. Take care of yourself until the next time.